Let me ask you a question. Uh, how many of you think that to do something of significance or value, you need to you figure out who you are? That one day you'll wake up and you will know what the meaning of your life was. Well, I should think that way. But in truth, you don't start by knowing your identity. You build it. You weave it, one thread at a time. So let me tell you my story. Uh, this is me in my hometown of Ahmednagar on a phone call. I thought I got my calling in table tennis. At the age of 7, I started playing table tennis and was obsessed with the game. I wanted to play for the country. So when I was 10, I convinced my father to move me to Pune so I could train to play for the country one day. So for the next 10 years, I played 7 hours a day, 6 days a week. I mean, I had apps, but social life zero. So at 17, my dream came true. I became two-time national champion and won medals for India in Australia. But at that time, I made one of the most difficult decisions of my life. I decided to hang my rackets. At that time, a career in sports wasn't financially viable. And when I did that, most people don't understand, like when you play sports or when you do anything so competitively for so long, and when you quit it abruptly, you don't only lose your community or your competition, you also lose your identity. For the longest time, I didn't know what to do. Like, I had no competitions to train for, I had no championships to look forward to. So I was a bit lost and I was very anxious about my future. But in hindsight, I think that was the best decision I made and it helped me become who I am today. Uh, So while my friends were going on to their universities and leading on their lives as normal, I did something else. I took a gap year. And in that gap year, I traveled in India, in Sri Lanka, I worked at a startup, I started my own non-profit, all of this just to find my meaning in life. Well, in 1 year I didn't find my meaning of life, but I found something else. I found my curiosity. I was really curious to find how do some young people do extraordinary things? What makes them different? I wanted to learn from the stories of these 15 to 25-year-old people who grew up in India and how did they overcome their challenges to do something of significance. So naturally for this, I started reading a lot of blogs, listening to podcasts, going to the bookstores, trying to find like that book in the non-fiction aisle. But I just couldn't find something that resonated with me. I couldn't find literature that made, sort of like a guideline for how to become successful in India for a young person. So I decided to do something about it. I not only wanted to find their stories, but I also wanted to create something of my own. So I started my journey. At 17, in Pune, I started this non-profit called the KIN organization. Quickly, we grew to 300 volunteers, and I thought I was being a great leader, like micromanaging people, telling them what to do, being very controlling, the same way I had seen in competitive sports. But after a fallout with my team members, I was kicked out of my own non-profit that I started. It was a very humbling experience. It was not even funny, honestly, at that time, truly not funny. But, um, but it was a pivotal moment for me. In the same year, I was speaking to this girl. When she was 15, she addressed the United Nations General Assembly on her work for banning plastic bags in Bali. She's super inspiring. But she said something that stuck with me, that leadership is not about controlling, it's about connecting. Um, So I took that advice to heart, and I really reflected on that, and I arrived at my definition of leadership, which was about not really controlling people, but finding a shared vision of the future, telling stories, and helping them become the best versions of themselves in both certainty and uncertainty alike. And then the biggest uncertainty arrived, COVID-19. The world was in shimmers, and everyone, all the college students were a bit, isolated, and the jobs were few. So I pulled together a team of 8 people, and we started the business council of our college, and we helped all the kids with their, not just resumes and interviews, but also helped them get internships and jobs. 10 of them went on to have really good jobs in the Middle East. Well, none of this was flashy, but it worked. It taught me that leadership is about not controlling people, but finding a shared value and helping them in certainty and uncertainty alike. Okay, well, leading others was great, but once you look inside, you also, it was hard for me to lead myself also. Because you see, I was also going through a personal identity crisis. When I went to college, I not only gave back my community, but also my identity as an athlete. And I didn't think I'd be good at anything else after table tennis. So I liked writing, but I was terrible at it. And then, in a chance encounter with a friend who became an IS officer, who came from a small town and self-studies his way to become one of the youngest IS officers in India. And he told me, Manthan, you're not bad at something, you're just not good at it yet. And that stayed with me. The yet was so powerful. It just changed the way I looked at my abilities. So earlier I used to think that maybe my identity as an athlete is fixed, my talents are fixed. But what if it was not? What if I could build as many identities as I wanted, or grow into anything I wanted just by following my curiosity? So that's what I did. For the next 3 years, I enrolled in this diploma in creative writing in parallel to my undergrad degree. And I wrote tens of thousands of words from cafes and trains, and from Pune, Mumbai, Singapore, Dubai. Wherever I went for my college, I was just writing all the time. And most of those words were really bad, if not crappy. But some of them were better than the ones that I wrote before. And with each new word, with every additional page, not only was I building a skill, but I also found my voice and my confidence. Well, growth can be slow, but to have that self-confidence can be hard, especially in times when the world says, rejects you a lot. So when I was in first year of my college, my middle name was Rejection. In Singapore for my first year, I applied to dozens of internships from Google, Facebook, HP, UBS. Was rejected from all of them. Most I didn't even hear back. So I really started asking myself, am I not good enough for these? Then I met this artist that I really, really admired. And he told me his story. By 11th grade, he had 250 rejections already from all the companies and all the clients that he wanted to work for. He had this folder in his computer, just like a rejection pile. He not only did not run away from rejections, he celebrated them as milestones. In fact, he bought himself treats after every 5th rejection. So I was like, that's interesting. This man is really enjoying his failures. So I took that to heart, and I went to the dean of my college. The dean took a pity on me and sort of wrote name of 3 social organizations on a post-it note that I could work in. One of them was called Ashoka, and this time I had nothing to lose. So instead of applying online, I just printed out my resume, cover letter, packed my bag, went straight to their office, knocked on the door, asked if I could see the country director, and she was right there. And I told her for 10 minutes what I believed in, what my vision for the future was, and why I wanted to work for her specifically. And she was very taken aback. And but she said yes, and I worked for them for the entire summer, and it was one of the best internships I've ever had. But she did not give me the opportunity because I was the best. She gave it because I showed up. It wasn't, and that confidence to show up did not come from my achievements or my titles. It just came from the thought that despite rejections, I could keep going and it wouldn't bother me. And that's what I mean, like, when you start believing that you belong in the room, things work out for you. Well, it's been 8 years since I wrote in my diary what makes young people successful. And from age 17 to age 22, I interviewed 50 of them, the ones that I admired. And many of them became really good friends of mine, like lifelong friends. I found mentors. And slowly, I found threads of the identity that I didn't know I was building. And from each of those friendships, I was documenting them, and like each of those conversations, the folder in my laptop sort of grew bigger and larger. And I started seeing patterns in the way they thought, the decisions that they made, the risks that they took, the habits that they had, what did they do to do something different, something extraordinary. And slowly, those patterns became 10 chapters in the book, like 3 of them mentioned earlier: leadership, growth mindset, confidence. And my stories, like from rejections to writing thousands of words to finding internship and finding my place in the world, became bases in those books. So then luckily I met my lovely editor Radhika. She took a shot at me, and at 22 I became the youngest published author at Penguin Random House India. It's been about 3 years since the book came out, but I reflect on those stories time and again, and it reminds me that there is extraordinariness in every ordinary person. That there are so many stories to be learned from, to be recorded, and to be created. In those 8 years, I've lived several identities, be it author, table tennis player, short scholar, writer, so on and so forth. And now I'm into climate investment, and I'm still figuring out my next steps. Like, I don't know what I'll become in the future. But now, I'm not as anxious as I was when I was 17 years old. Because with every extraordinary person that I met, I learned that they don't start with that clarity. They also start with that curiosity. And that they keep pursuing that curiosity with all the humility, confidence, growth mindset, so on and so forth. And so if you're in the audience now, and if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know who I am, or like what am I supposed to do, that's great. It means you're just getting started. That's because you don't find your identity by waiting for it. You create it, you weave it one thread at a time. Thank you.